here we have a couple. They've been together for years. They've been together since high school. So, which is a blessing and a curse altogether. And the blessing of it is that one of the first people that you fall in love with, you end up being able to travel through time with them, which is such an amazing thing. But I think ultimately for a lot of couples, what happens when they stay together that long is the sexual connection kind of fades. And because they love each other so much, neither one of them wants to leave, but oftentimes there could be a little bit of a cheating problem going on there, or a fantasizing issue that doesn't ever connect with the partner. So talking back in the original case of this happening, one of the things that I want to remind us is that sex has always been a commodity exchange, whether we want to admit it or not. And I'm going to repeat that. Sex has always been a commodity exchange, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. And so, with that being said, that statement paints a picture for why a woman's sex drive is so freaking complicated, right? So, when you think about sex drive, naturally you think, what are the hormones doing? What is the vagina? Is it dry? Is there some type of medication which is throwing the sex drive off? All of that could be the case. Technically, I'm not going to offset that that could in fact be the case. But one thing that we have to keep in mind is that women have to feel motivated to have sex. They have to feel motivated to have sex. They got to have some reason to want to have sex. And one of those reasons could be that she's horny. One of those reasons could be that you bought her a fantastic gift. One of the reasons may be because you are a fantastic provider. One of the reasons may be because she wants to get pregnant. One of the reasons may be because she knows you want to, right? One of the reasons may be that she feels coerced. But whatever the reason, it's got to be a reason and a motivation behind having sex. And I think, unfortunately, we grow up thinking that sex is just supposed to magically appear onto our plate and we're just supposed to magically want it. But unfortunately, as time goes by and the couple start to develop what's called couch syndrome, which means you bought that leather couch, it was fantastic, it was gorgeous, it was beautiful, stay off the couch. This is my brand new leather fancy couch, right? As time goes by, you start laying on the couch. Then you start eating on the couch. Then some stains get on the couch. You even stop wiping it off, right? So that sexy couch that you first got, that was full leather, it was so expensive, it was so fantastic. Now it's just, a piece of furniture in your house, right? That's ultimately what can happen when couples have been together for a really long time, is that they get sexy couch syndrome, which basically means you start to become about as sexy as the couch to each other. So what can we do to infuse a little bit of sexiness? What can we do to improve sex drive in the lady or the woman in this particular relationship? So one thing I want to show you is Bassan's model of sex drive, right? And what I want you to keep in mind while you're looking at this, let's see, can you see the whole thing? Is how complicated it is, right? So you've got arousal and responsive sexual desire over here. So let me get my pen out. If you notice, there are so many different places that you can enter when it comes to sex drive here, right? You can enter here with multiple reasons and incentives. Let me change the color. You can enter here with motivation. You can enter here with subjective arousal. You can enter here with sexual satisfaction. So basically what this model shows you is that there's so many different motivations for a woman in particular. This is what this model is designed for, but I feel like guys are the same. There's so many different reasons to start to have sex that you kind of got to figure out where she is or where you are in terms of this cycle to help improve sex drive. So let me be a little more straight. So first, when it comes to having a partner who has a low sex drive and it happens to be a lady, first thing you've got to do is get her on board or back on board with having more sex, right? So we recognize the sex drive has gone down, but is she willing to try to have sex more frequently? And if she's willing, And if she's not, how do we get her to be more willing? So first of all, I want you to start with, what is her love language? Like, what types of things does she find fantastic? What types of gifts does she enjoy? And I want you to think about it in terms of gifts. Now, these don't have to be expensive gifts if that's not her thing. Maybe her gift is you spending some more time. Maybe her gift is you cleaning up the house. Maybe the gift is you taking out the trash. Maybe the gift is you helping take care of the kids. Maybe the gift is a pair of fancy shoes. Whatever the gifts she loves are, you want to focus on giving those types of gifts, right? So it may sound superficial, but one, start with gifts, gift givings. Because when you give a gift that speaks to her, not speaks to you, that is one of the first things to getting her clitoris to wake up, right? So if it's shoes, you get her that fancy pair of shoes that you thought about and you brought, okay, now the clitoris is starting to wake up. Maybe it's money. Maybe that's the gift she prefers, right? So maybe you give her some money, cash app it, leave it on the dresser, like bling, 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 bling. Moisture starts. Maybe it's spending time with the kids. You take the kids, you guys are gone all day. She's home, she's relaxed, bling, 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 clitoral throbbing, right? This is how you start this process of improving the sex drive, right? The next thing you want to do is figure out a way to make her life easier in some way. Maybe she's stressed out because of some bills. Maybe pay one for her. Maybe she's stressed out because her family's getting on her nerves. Maybe you can intervene and figure out some solution there. Maybe she's stressed out because work is getting on her nerves. Tell her to take a day off, right? So make her life easier in some kind of way. She's stressed out. The kitchen is a hot mess. Maybe you clean up the kitchen that way. So make her life easier in some way. That's step 2. Number 3, find out what she does or doesn't like when it comes to sex. Oftentimes the sex drive has decreased because there's something that you guys were doing that she didn't really like. And so what do ladies do when they don't like something and they don't like it over and over and over again? They start to avoid it. So this is how you can tell whether or not she's avoiding it. Every time you come to bed, she's asleep. She's not that damn sleepy. Why is she avoiding you? Why is she avoiding having sex with you, right? Every time you talk about sex, she starts yawning. She has a headache, or she busy, she got work tomorrow. Something about it she's not enjoying, right? And she doesn't know how to tell you, and she doesn't want to hurt your feelings about it. So you got to be open to the concept of, there's something about sex that she's not really enjoying, and she's not telling me about it, right? That's another thing. So you got to find out what she does and doesn't like. And we have a couples worksheet. And if you message us, we'll give it to you. So then what you do with the couples worksheet is she fills it out, you fill it out. You guys go back and forth, read it to each other so you can figure out, what do you want more of? What do you want less of? What do you like? What do you not like? Because after the years, things change. And sometimes too, you guys may have been having sex and she never liked it in the first place, but it was new. The relationship was new and she was grinning and bearing it and pretending like she liked it, but she never really liked it. And now that she got you, she doesn't have to pretend anymore. She just avoids having sex, right? So we've got to figure out why she's avoiding sex and what's the issue there, right? Another thing that you really have to focus hard on, and this is the part that she's going to have to do on her own. Now, when I talk about men's sexual health, one of the things that I always talk about is blood flow, right? And engorgement. So what I want you to understand is that the penile tissue and the clitoral tissue are embryologically very similar. And what that means is that as an embryo, before we were all born and we were tiny little embryos in our mommy's bodies, that the clitoris and the penile tissue were exactly the same. So they've got very similar structures to them. And that even though in some ladies the clitoris may be tiny or it may be large, that is a little tiny peeny weeny. It's like a teeny peeny. It's a tiny little penis. So engorgement is an important part of the overall sexual satisfaction of her. That's why we focus so much on talking about the clitoris. That's why you open up any women's magazine that even focuses on something similar. They're talking about orgasm and they're tying it into clitoral satisfaction. Good old clitoris is very much like the penis. So with that being said, when we're talking about penile rehab and men and their sex drive and men and their erections, what do we always talk about? Pumping, right? We talk about improving blood flow, whether it's pumping or jelqing. Now, one fact we know about women is that women who masturbate or play with themselves have a higher sex drive than women who do not. And why is that? Think about it like this. They are priming the pump, right? Anything that just sits down there and doesn't get used, whether it's your Toyota, whether it's your Mercedes, whether it's your clitoris, whether it's your penis, anything that doesn't get used eventually will stop working the way that we want it to. So as time goes by, as people get busier, as kids dump into your life, well, fly into your life, because kids are a beautiful thing. When they come into your world, think about it like this. We start to focus on them and we forget to focus on ourselves, and we maybe neglect that area. So for women who want to boost their sex drive, sure, get your hormones checked. Sure, get all that checked. And they're probably going to tell you everything looks fine. But what you really want to focus on is rehabilitating the clitoral tissue and the vaginal tissue so that we get more lubrication down there and we get more blood flow down there. And so one thing, women get a great moisturizer. So there's some great moisturizers that aren't just lubricants that you use in the throes of passion, but they moisturize, meaning that they add moisture down there over time. So it's something that you kind of use on a daily basis to just kind of help rejuvenate the tissue. Another thing that you want to do if you want to help her get a better sex drive, or you want to help yourself, ladies, you want to get a little vibrator. And I recommend the vibrators that have the little sucking device on the top of it, kind of like a pump. You see where we're going here, right? So this comes from the Phallogenics website, right, where they kind of review different vibrators. One thing you'll notice about all these vibrators that I've put up here is that they all do some sort of form of suction, right? So what you'll do is you'll get one of these suction vibrating objects, you'll get some water-based lubricant, and you'll get a form of erotica that turns her on, or you, if you're listening to this for yourself. Preferably, my opinion, I prefer that people are using their imagination. So this is erotica that you're reading or listening to, right? Visually, it's too easy, right? We look at it as easy. It's an easy turn on. You see all that fluid and you see things squirting places and all of that, and it's easy to get turned on visually. What we want to do is tap into the inner brain so that we can start connecting some of these fantasies to our own lives. That's why using the erotica that you're reading versus the erotica that you're listening to makes a big difference. Sexologist Stephen Smith, he has a great line of erotic novels which can help. They're even like a guidebook on how to integrate a little bit of kink into your life. But so you're either listening to an audiobook, you're listening to a partner, or you're reading, right? And you're using one of these sucking devices on the clitoris with lubricant, and you're doing it depending. If you're a lady that can't orgasm at all, you're doing it for 45 minutes, 4 times a week. And if you are a lady who, can orgasm, but just, sex drive is not there, you're doing it for 15 minutes a few times a week, right? And while you're doing that, you're using the erotica to kind of turn you on, and you're using this as a way to bring engorgement and moisture back to the area, right? So now then the next space that we want to do is we want to take it one step further. So now she's working on herself. She's getting her sex drive back together. She's working on the tissue. The next thing that you want to do is figure out how she's doing this. So now, some people find it very comfortable to masturbate in front of each other, right? But ladies who feel uncomfortable with their body or comfortable with what they're doing, they're not going to be as gung-ho on you watching them. So you can ask, say, can you make a little video while you're doing it, right? She don't have to put her face in it or anything like that because she don't have to worry about anyone stealing it or getting a hold of it, but ask her. Because two, asking her to make a video taps into her feeling like you want her. You know, she feels like, hey, he wants to watch this video or she wants to watch this video of me getting down because it's going to turn them on, right? So that's kind of making her feel more comfortable, more desired, so to speak, because over time, too, couples that have been together for a while, maybe you're not doing what it takes to make her even feel desirable, right? So that's part of that. And then if she's really in a comfortable space, ask, hey, can I watch you do that? And while you do that, I'm going to jack off myself or I'm going to masturbate myself and we'll kind of do a session together, right? So what you're doing when you're doing this is one, you're breaking your couple cycle out of the norm. You're doing some stuff that you guys haven't really done together and it's weird to everybody and it's pushing the boundaries because when you're trying to infuse sex into a relationship that maybe doesn't have it right now or has gotten off track, you've got to infuse the newness because a big part of sex drive, whether it's guys or girls, is about dopamine production. And dopamine is the passion hormone. And if there's not any passion, and even though it's called the passion hormone, it is actually an anticipatory hormone, which means it comes about with anticipation, looking forward to something, kind of the mystery. This is how people get catfished. Catfishing happens because there's so much mystery between you and this tablet and this mysterious person that exists that you can't help but be turned on and excited and drawn in. So when you're infusing new things into the relationship that haven't been done before, that is absolutely stimulating dopamine, which stimulates the sex drive. Now, I'll say this too, that if you guys are having a sex drive problem, you've got, if the kids are sleeping in the bed with you, you've got to figure out a way to get the kids out of your bed, right? Because I've seen children be in the bed and that 100% ruins the marriage or the relationship. Because although both of you kind of are dealing with it, one person is really kind of angry about it. Like, why the hell is this kid still in our bed? Like, I can't get any. There's no intimacy. We can't hug at night. We can't cuddle at night. We can't roll over and have a quickie. So if you want the sex drive to continue in a relationship, or if you even want to keep this relationship, you got to get the kids out of the bed. Babies, children are not meant to sleep with their parents every night, right? They're not. You know, you guys should be able to lock your door and get naked and fondle all through the night if you want to, which helps keep sexual energy going. If that kid is in the bed, that can happen, and it takes a toll on the relationship. Whether your partner's being honest with you or not, it will wipe things out. Okay? So when it comes to sex drive in women, one thing that you got to do is you got to figure out how can I even get her interested in back having sex? That goes back to sex being a commodity exchange. It just is. This isn't prostitution. This is basic life. It's a commodity exchange. What do you like? And what do you want? And what do I like? And what do you want? Right? So you got to find some way to meet on common ground there. The other space is rejuvenating the tissue. So by rejuvenating the tissue, bringing back masturbation, bringing back fondling and all those things, it helps with the tissue. Bringing newness into the relationship helps with the dopamine. It helps connect excitement to you. You want to connect excitement because that's how you can ultimately have a person not be very excited sexually. You guys get together, barely any moisture, barely any stiffness, and then you get with a new person and it's all of that. Well, because the new person is bringing excitement and newness, you two as a couple want to work on bringing excitement and newness in ways that you haven't thought about, right? So the other thing is with toys, sex toys, if you want to get someone involved in the space, if you want to get her playing with herself a little more to help rejuvenate sex drive, buy one. Buy one for her, give it to her as a gift. Say, you know, I was reading somewhere or watching something, and I realized that, you know, if we're not sexually stimulating ourselves when we're alone, it's hard to do it when we're together too. So I bought this for you. It's a gift. Here, bam. And then you take it one step further and introduce erotica, erotic novels, listening to erotic novels, you know, figuring out ways to stimulate the brain in other ways so that that brain chemistry connects to the sexual chemistry down below, right?